You're walking to your car in an empty parking lot. It's late, the lights are dim, and your heart starts pounding before you've seen anything at all. No predator, no danger, just concrete and shadows and the sound of your own footsteps. But your body doesn't know that. It's already flooding your blood with chemicals built for a fight that isn't coming. Your pupils widen, your muscles tighten. Somewhere behind your eyes, a part of your brain older than language has already made a decision. It thinks you're being hunted. That reaction feels irrational, embarrassing even. You know there's nothing there. And yet the fear arrives anyway, uninvited, immune to logic, but the real answer is far stranger than simple fear. Your brain isn't malfunctioning in that parking lot. It's running a program that has barely changed in 200,000 years, in a body that hasn't caught up to the world it now lives in. To understand it, go back. Not centuries, not millennia. All the way back to a time when the biggest decision of your day wasn't what to answer in an email. It was whether the rustle in the grass was wind or teeth. For most of human history, being wrong about that question meant dying. Being right meant living long enough to have children who inherited the same jumpy, hyper-alert nervous system that kept you alive. Evolution doesn't reward calm. It rewards survival. A slightly anxious ancestor who overreacted to every shadow lived longer, on average, than a relaxed one who waited for proof. So who do you think you're descended from? Not the calm ones? Not the ones who stayed rational under pressure. You're descended from the ones who flinched first and questioned it later, generation after generation, until flinching became instinct. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux spent decades mapping exactly how this fear circuit works. Deep in your brain sits a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. It doesn't wait for your conscious mind to analyze a threat. It reacts first and asks questions later. Ledoux's research showed that a sound or a shape can trigger your amygdala in a fraction of a second, well before the thinking part of your brain even knows what it saw. That's not a flaw in the design. That's the entire point of the design. Your ancestors didn't have time to calmly reason through whether the shape in the grass was a lion. The ones who paused to think it over usually became lunch. The ones who reacted first got to walk away and pass on their nervous system to you. Here's where it gets stranger. Biologist Lynn Eisbell proposed something called the snake detection theory, and it reframes how primates evolved to see the world at all. Her research suggests early primates developed unusually sharp vision, not to find fruit, but to detect one ancient threat: snakes hidden in leaves and grass. The primates who could pick a camouflaged shape out of the underbrush a half-second faster were the ones who survived to reproduce, generation after generation, until sharp, searching vision became standard equipment. That means the way your eyes scan a room right now, checking corners without you even asking them to, may be a direct inheritance from ancestors watching for something coiled in the grass, millions of years before humans existed. You're not imagining threats out of nowhere. You're running a detection system that helped build your own eyes. So what happens when that system switches on, but the predator never shows up? Physiologist Walter Cannon was the first to describe this reaction nearly a century ago, coining the term fight or flight. He found that under threat, the body redirects everything toward survival. Blood moves away from digestion toward muscle. Senses sharpen. Thought narrows to a single question: can I escape or do I fight? Cannon was studying physical danger, wolves, fires, physical assault. He had no way of knowing that 100 years later, the same circuitry would fire from a phone buzzing on a nightstand at 2 in the morning. This is where Stanford neuroendocrinologist Robert Sapolsky's research matters most. Sapolsky studied stress in wild baboons and compared it to stress in humans, and found something unsettling. A zebra's stress response turns on when a lion appears and turns off the moment danger passes. It doesn't lie awake replaying the chase. It doesn't dread tomorrow's lion. Humans don't reset the same way. You can trigger that exact fight or flight chemistry, the pounding heart, the tightened muscles, the flood of cortisol, just by thinking about an email you haven't answered, or a conversation that went badly 3 days ago, or a bill you can't quite cover this month. Your ancient alarm system doesn't distinguish between a lion and a deadline. It just knows something feels like danger and responds the only way it knows how. This is the twist most people miss entirely. You weren't built with a broken stress response. You were built with one so effective it kept your ancestors alive across ice ages, famines, and predators on every continent they crossed. The problem isn't the system. The problem is that the system was never updated for a world with notifications, traffic, and inboxes. Think about what actually triggers your fear today. It's rarely a predator. It's a red notification badge. It's your boss's name appearing on your screen. It's silence from someone who usually texts back right away. None of these things can hurt you physically. But to the amygdala, uncertainty itself reads as danger, and it always has. Why would uncertainty feel like a threat? Because for most of human history, uncertainty usually was one, not knowing where the next meal was coming from, not knowing if the group would still protect you, and not knowing if that sound in the dark had teeth. Your brain learned over hundreds of thousands of years that the unknown deserves suspicion before trust. That instinct hasn't gone anywhere, it just changed targets. This is why public speaking terrifies people more than almost anything else, according to surveys repeated for decades. More than heights, more than flying, sometimes more than the fear of death itself. Standing in front of a group and being judged doesn't sound like a survival threat, but to an ancestral brain, social rejection was one. Getting cast out of the group, in a world of predators and scarce food, didn't just hurt your feelings. It could end you, slowly, alone, without protection. Your brain still remembers that, even if you don't. Notice how quickly a stranger's honking horn can turn into rage, not mild irritation, but something closer to a threat response. A blocked lane on a highway isn't life-threatening. But to a nervous system built for tight, dangerous spaces shared with rival groups, being boxed in still reads as a trap. Your hands tighten on the wheel the same way an ancestor's hands might have tightened around a spear. It's the same reason a single bad comment can outweigh 100 good ones. The same reason silence from someone you care about can feel unbearable within minutes. Your nervous system isn't measuring the actual danger of the moment. It's running an ancient calculation about belonging, exile, and survival dressed up in the shape of a modern inconvenience. So when your palms sweat before a presentation, or your pulse spikes for no visible reason in a parking lot, or your stomach drops at an unanswered message, you're not weak. You're not broken. You're carrying the exact nervous system that kept a fragile, slow, clawless species alive across nearly every environment on Earth. It just hasn't been told the hunting stopped. And maybe it never fully will be. Maybe the goal was never to silence that ancient alarm. Maybe it's simply to recognize it for what it is, an inheritance, not a malfunction. A signal built by ancestors who needed to feel unsafe in order to survive long enough for you to exist at all. So the next time your heart pounds in a parking lot that isn't dangerous, don't fight the feeling. Thank it. It means the hunted have finally become the ones being kept alive, generation after generation, by a brain that still, quietly, refuses to stop watching the grass.